When you first get into recording side of music, it can be a little intimidating. There's a whole lot of stuff that you need to look into, a whole bunch of different gear, and it can be honestly overwhelming knowing where to start. Fortunately, the folks at Presonus have made it super easy with the Audiobox Ultimate Studio Bundle. We're gonna be going over that today, what you get and how it can help you on your recording journey. Stick around. Hello, this is Carlos with Alamo Music Center here in downtown San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos, sign up for notifications, and leave a comment so we can go ahead and engage with you. And we have a whole lot of content coming out that we can't wait to share with you. So like I said earlier, we are talking about the Audiobox Ultimate Home Studio Bundle from Presonus. Now, it is good to note that there is actually two versions. This is the Ultimate Bundle, comes with the monitors. You also do have the Studio Bundle, which comes with everything you include here, minus the monitors. So, Presonus Studio Bundle, what do you get? Well, everything. Everything that you need to get started on your musical journey recording. So you get included is an interface, the Audiobox USB 96, a set of studio monitors, the Eris 3.5, set of headphones, the HD7, and a condenser microphone, the M7. That's not even including all of the amazing software you get, including a bunch of virtual instruments, sound samples, and whole different forms of digital audio workstations. Definitely get you started right away. So let's go and break this down piece by piece on what you actually get. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off with this one first. This is the Audiobox USB 96. This is gonna be your interface. This is where everything gets started. Comes with two inputs with the XLR as well as a 1/4-inch input, so you can have two different mics, a guitar and a mic, two guitars, whatever you feel, as well as a dedicated, of course, standard -10 plus 10 decibel for each one of those, as well as also an input right here. This cool little feature, input playback. This little knob is gonna control what you hear from your speakers coming in from the actual computer versus what's actually going into the interface. And that can help a lot when it comes to monitoring yourself in terms of latency, so it doesn't feel like a lag. Now, in the back, you'll see that there's a host of connections, which are going to include a TRS 1/4-inch output jack, dedicated headphone jack, as well as also a MIDI in and MIDI out input. Now, one thing I personally like about it is that the headphone jack itself actually has a dedicated knob. You don't always get that in interfaces around this size. Sometimes it's all dedicated through the volume knob, so it really is convenient to have that headphone, because sometimes you don't want to have to go and turn off your speakers completely just to turn off that volume. So that's a really convenient deploy here. Now, with the Audiobox, it does record up to 24-bit, 96K, and it is USB 2.0 powered. So what that means is that it will handle pretty much good interface in terms of audio for video, for music. If you do maybe need something like 32-bit float, which if you know what that is, you'll know why you need it, and if you don't worry, this is gonna cover what you do need to do for multiple things. But this does not offer 32-bit float. If you did need that though, it probably wouldn't be in something as economical as the Audiobox Studio Bundle. So USB 2.0, that means that it is powered via your computer interface, whatever it is you're plugging it into, it directly gives power to the interface, which also supports the phantom power, which if you didn't know, it's a small 48-volt power, which does power up most microphones, condensers like the one that we have here with the M7. So with the USB 2.0 powered, means that you can take this anywhere. If you have a computer, if you have your laptop, take it with you. If you're going on the road, if you're going on vacation, you don't want to miss out on recording. You don't need an external jack to plug it in, which is always super convenient. It means there's less cable, less chance for impedance, all that good stuff. Only downside, if I had to say any, like I said, mentioned there's no 32-bit float, and personally, just aesthetically, the headphone jack in the back is in the back of it, so I'm not a big fan of that myself, because I do like to disconnect and reconnect the headphone jacks myself, but it's not really that big of a deal. For the most part, if you know how you're gonna record, kind of plug it in, set it and forget it, and like I said, it's got a dedicated volume knob, so you can just easily turn off the volume. You don't need to have to unplug it. That might actually just be a victim of the interface that I'm using myself. So now we move on to the headphones here. Now, just to talk quick on these headphones, they are, they're not skull candies, they're better than that, but these aren't gonna be mixing headphones. I wouldn't put them in that category. You can, of course, learn to mix with them, with any instruments, with any headphones, any speakers, you can learn to mix with them, but these I wouldn't really recommend for going for mixing. These are gonna really work really well though, when you're monitoring, recording, using them while you're recording, so you don't have to have the audio coming from the monitors, but to mix directly on them, while doable, I personally wouldn't recommend that. They do have a little bit of a color, so that's to say it's not gonna be the flattest signal you can get, so you may not hear everything the way that you might hear it on other speaker devices when you get there. Otherwise, great design. They're at least for me, for majority of people, they are over ear, not on the ear. I personally prefer that myself because it means that my ears aren't gonna get as fatigued. It's not gonna start hurting, pressing down, start getting that headache. I know I do. I wear glasses, so when I wear those tight headphones, it starts squeezing in on them. I start getting a headache, so that's always great when it's over the ear. Now, as for the monitors you get, these are gonna be the Eris 3.5. These are 3.5-inch speakers. As you can see, it does also have little small tweeters at the top. These have great connections because they are gonna actually include RCA, as well as also balanced TRS, that's a 1/4-inch connection. And for speakers this size, you don't always get that 1/4-inch. That's gonna give you a much more clear signal. Only drawback is it is gonna only include that, so it's not gonna have XLR input output. But again, kind of like the 32-bit float I mentioned earlier, if you really needed that, you wouldn't be looking at this bundle per se. The monitors, the interface you're looking for probably would cost more alone than this bundle does altogether. But otherwise, for being more of a smaller speakers at that 3.5-inch to include that 1/4-inch input, you don't always get that. Now, the only thing that I can say as a knock for them, personally, again, kind of like the headphones, there is gonna be a bit of a learning curve with using them because they're not gonna give you the flattest signal. They are smaller, which means that bass response isn't gonna be there like you do with the bigger signal speakers. And ultimately, they are kind of modeling their bigger editions of the Eris system. So they will have a little bit of a color to them, not too much. And definitely, if you listen to reference tracks and get comfortable with your speakers, you can produce great quality stuff on them, but they're not gonna be flat. You're not getting Yamahas, they're not 300 a piece. It is part of a better bundle. I think maybe they go for about 100. But otherwise, still fantastic. The only other downside I can say myself, and this is just personal, is this right here. So if you can't recognize what this is actually a connecting cable that connects one speaker to the other. Now, this isn't always a bad thing. For the most part, if you're looking at this, you may not necessarily need a huge space, but where I kind of have a personal issue myself is just that if you start needing them to be much more wider or a bigger space, you are limited to what that particular type of cable is gonna give you. We're not looking at a line output cable and it's not too dedicated TRS going to each one, so you are limited by the length of this cable. And then if you do want to, of course, go longer or get a much more bigger space or have more slack, you do need to get this cable again. Additionally, the downside is that with these type of speakers, because they are sold, and monitors, because they're sold as that like $100 pair, you're really not gonna find them individually. Typically, monitors on the more higher end spectrum are not gonna be sold in a pair. You're usually gonna be paying per each one. A lot of times I'm marketing them as a pair, but you're really paying per each one. So one of the downsides there is that, let's say this speaker right here, this is the bad boy, this is the one that has all of the power in it. Let's say for some reason this one fails on you. You have to, if you want to replace it with this one, you'll have to go out and buy this pair. You probably find it used, probably somewhere secondhand, but for the most part, with this having this type of connection where it's kind of dedicated for one to the other, it's very unlikely you're going to find them individually, which means more than likely if one does break, you have to replace the pair as opposed to just buying another one. Now, the last thing that I want to get into, of course, that comes with this bundle is going to be the M7. Now, of course, the best way to show you this is not going to be by talking about it as much as talking through it. So right now, what you're going to be hearing is going to be the M7 straight. No compression, no EQ, no reverb, nada, nothing on it, just the M7 directly. Don't even have a pop filter. I want you to hear exactly what it's going to sound like, syllabuses, plosives, and all. Just talking about with the M7. So this M7 is a large diaphragm condenser microphone, does run on 48 phantom power, which again, the interface does provide, and does not need any additional power supply to run it. Now, this is going to be a standard run-of-the-mill large diaphragm condenser, so you don't have any shelving. There's no EQ options built into it like you do get on some of the more higher-end microphones, but otherwise, still a great sound. In terms of the quality of the recording, just as it's straight, it's far from being bad. It's not going to be an iPhone. It's not going to be your computer speakers, nothing like that. It's going to be a great sound, but we're not talking about a Neumann or even some of the higher-end Sennheisers here, where it's going to be more a little bit in the middle, more of an economical sound. Still get some great professional stuff out of it, even rival commercial, but to be honest, you might have to do a little bit more work in the workstation than some of the other microphones may provide. With that being said, at the end of the day, recording is not just about the equipment you're using, also the knowledge behind your recording. So this right here, with someone that has great knowledge, can create better stuff than the most expensive Sennheiser can do with someone that knows nothing. So keep that in mind. Now, I'm gonna move this out the way a little bit. All right, back to normal voice. So the Audiobox Ultimate Studio Bundle, who does it benefit? Who is it for? Personally, I think it benefits a lot of people. Wide range, dynamic amount of people that can benefit from this bundle. But personally, I think if you're just starting out, if you're new, that's where it's going to benefit you the most. If you're not really too sure what's really good, what's really bad, where things can gauge, then something like this is going to be perfect because you're not getting the absolute best available, but you're far, and I mean far and away from the worst. You're really good in that middle line. To me, the bundle in and of itself kind of reminds me of like the software that's included in it. It is important to note that the software included is going to be light editions, artist editions. You do get the Studio One Artist, as well as also the Studio Magic bundle, which includes programs from Isotope, as well as also Ableton Live and Arturia. But again, all of these will be more lighter end programs. Reason for it, of course, to kind of give you a taste of what these can do. If you like them, get the better end version of, or the more full end version, I mean, of the software. And in the same vein, I could say that for the bundle itself. It's really gonna give you a good benefit to give you a taste of the recording side. If you find that you like it, then this is definitely gonna be more than enough equipment to help you with your journey to get better at the knowledge behind it, to know, I wanna get this new interface, I wanna get these new speakers. And if you find that you didn't like this, well, ultimately it's still something you have, something that you can use at any time that you want to, maybe if not on a professional level, but at the very least, it wasn't a humongous investment. It is still gonna be one, never gonna talk about hundreds of dollars as if it's light, but it wasn't thousands of dollars, which I can tell you this right now, when it comes to building a studio, boy, it's easy to get into the hundreds of thousands with no problem whatsoever. You know, I think the most expensive mic I saw was in the high 5 figures, so it can definitely get up there. So, where it's not gonna benefit some people, I would probably recommend if you already have some knowledge in recording, mixing, mastering, all that good stuff, this may not be the best bundle for you. It is gonna be, again, limited in terms of what it can provide. While the interface itself is great, still only 2 channels, only 24-bit, only 96K, and again, only USB 2.0 powered in a world that is getting a lot more frequently used to USB 3.0 or USB-C. Now that is important because you gotta remember your audio is this analog getting converted into digital, you're hearing it back as you play. Those speeds at which that cable travels gonna also help with determining how loud, how quickly you hear it once you play it, what we know as latency. So USB 2.0 powered, but again, that's not a big deal. A lot of the times you can get a really good latency on a decent computer, as well as also the ability to now have it portable, like I mentioned, and move around. So if you are looking for something that's gonna be maybe on a professional level, and by that I mean that you're looking to try and start a business, you can get this done. You can get away with this if maybe we're focusing on singer-songwriters, maybe even rappers, but if you're trying to record a full band, if you're trying to record something more than just 2 inputs at any given time, it's gonna be very difficult. You can still, myself included, can get full-length songs and full bands out of just these 2 inputs, but it's not the same as going into a studio and just being able to have all 8 channels, record all at once. It's a lot more work. So if you're looking to be super professional, or if you're looking to try and make a business out of this, I would recommend it if you're trying to find out how to record to see if you're trying to become a business. But if you're at that point where you want to go into full business and you have enough knowledge, this may not be enough for you in that spectrum. Again, it's always depending on what you're doing. Rap, singer-songwriter, maybe you're not necessarily using real drums, you can get away with it, but it's not going to be the best tool on a professional spectrum. Otherwise, in terms of the Studio One bundle, if you are new to recording or if you are looking for something that's gonna be a portable system, something you can have on the side, maybe not a main system, you really can't get any better than this. It's gonna come with your monitors, interface, headphones, all of the software, and of course, as you can see, all of the cables to get this going. The only thing that's gonna be missing is, of course, you and your knowledge. So ultimately, I do definitely recommend this as something to look into if you fall into those kind of categories. And even if you are kind of experienced, if you're looking for a backup system, something like that, again, Audiobox, you can't go wrong with it. So again, the Audiobox Ultimate Studio Bundle by Presonus, a great way to get started in recording, or if you already knew, a great backup system to have. Definitely something that I think you should check out. Again, this is Carlos with Alamo Music. I want to thank you again for watching. If you haven't already, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, as well as also subscribe to our channel, sign up for notifications. We have a whole lot of great content coming out to you soon, and I can't wait to have y'all be a part of it. Once again, this is Carlos. Y'all have a good one.